Welcome to How to Sell More. Today's episode, we are getting into the nitty-gritty of SEO with Cyrus Shepard. Now, you may go like, I know a ton about SEO. Well, then you probably know more than what we cover. You may go, what is SEO? I don't know anything about it. It's this thing we used to do. This episode's for you because I was surprised to find out just 6 months ago that one, SEO is still as effective as ever. It still works. And Cyrus Shepard shares some mind-boggling, like he almost breaks down for us how Google actually works. And the way that he figured it out, he's going to get into this in the conversation, but the way he figured this out, how Google actually works, is he kind of covertly got a job at Google. So he was able to reverse engineer exactly what works today in 2024 and what doesn't work from an SEO point of view. Now, Cyrus Shepard, today's guest, is the mastermind behind the SEO agency Zippy SEO, where he's been shaking things up with some really cool training and consulting. And over the years, he's worked at a ton of different organizations. He's pretty much dedicated his whole life as an SEO. And I think when you get into the conversation, you will hear that. And so if lead generation, if search, if what's happening with AI, if your rankings are slipping, if in any way search marketing is important to you or your business, you have got to hear this talk. I'm Mark Drager. Let's get into it. Cyrus Shepard, we connected because you were a guest speaker at an event of Rand Fishkin's called Spark Together that by now our audience knows about because I've been talking about it kind of nonstop for a month. But the presentation you gave and your background specifically on SEO was so fascinating to me because I'm not really super deep into search engine optimization. I respect it. I understand it. When I started my agency in 2006, kind of 2007 through 2010, we built $1 million business off of SEO. And then we got swept up in like, I think Penguin 2 update or something and had lost 40,000 backlinks and basically destroyed my business. So I've been afraid of SEO since then. But you gave a presentation that basically broke down the fact that the way that we as marketers, as salespeople, as business leaders think of Google and the way it operates and the way it works and the way it ranks certain pieces of content, the way we think about it is probably all wrong.
Yes. I've been mistaken about it for 10 years.
Now, that's more embarrassing for you because you've been in SEO for 10 years and you've been mistaken about it. But I watched the reaction of people as you were presenting and it blew everyone's minds. So first of all, how do we think about it and why is that wrong?
Yeah. So I've learned more about SEO in the last 12 months than I have my entire career. In part helped by this experience, in part helped by the documents coming out of Google's antitrust trial. The Department of Justice is releasing all these internal memos. So how we think about Google is they are very smart. They invented this patent PageRank years ago. They were able to blow everybody's mind away. We think that they crawl our website. They understand the pages. They can judge quality content and magically rank that first result in search results when you look at it because their algorithms are so good. And that isn't what's actually happening. We learned.
Hold on. So the whole mystique, the whole the signals that they use and the mysterious algorithm and all of the stuff people have been spending the last decade constantly trying to stay one step ahead of to make sure that, frankly, as marketers, we're outranking our competition and earning the lead. That's not true. And how do you know that? Why isn't that true?
It's true to an extent, but Google has other signals that are much more powerful that sort of take precedence over everything else. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to become I got a job working as a Google quality rater. And I should explain that to everybody. Google employs 16,000 workers around the world, every language, and all they do all day long is evaluate search results and websites. Is this a good quality website? And they score it on different things. And the idea in SEO in my world was that was a joke job for years. It was low quality. They don't really actually use those evaluations in search rankings, blah, 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 blah.
So there's 16,000 people around the world whose full-time job it is just to say whether something that's ranking on Google is quote unquote quality or not. And inside the industry, everyone just thought that they didn't do anything.
Yeah.
But you set out to get this job.
Yeah. Because I realized with machine learning that Google has been using for the last 10 years, they finally admitted in a document buried somewhere that they're using these quality raters to train their machine learning algorithms to mimic the quality raters, because there's something like 400 billion documents in Google's index, and 15,000 quality raters can't look at 400 billion documents. So they're training the algorithms based to mimic the quality raters. Using the quality raters, they're creating virtual quality rater algorithms that go out and look at your website, my website, everybody's website. The algorithms are mimicking the quality raters. And so that's what the job I wanted to do, to learn exactly how they're doing that, to see if I could get any insight into looking at it through those new lens. But that's only half the story. And I know I didn't talk about this at Spark Together, but there's the other half of the story coming out of the Department of Justice trial, that you and I are training Google's algorithms every time we use it. Every site that we click on, every time we scroll past a result, every time we enter a new result, it turns out those are the biggest ranking factors that Google is using. It's the world's giant mechanical Turk engine. It's not a search engine. We're just training it with billions of searches a day. What should rank? What's good content? What's bad content?
So, but here's I guess maybe where I'm confused.
Okay.
So two things. Let's take a step back. So first of all, this isn't something that only Google does. Back
Right.
when Amazon wanted to have recommendations for people who bought this also bought that, they used to have people click a button to make sure that it was the right photo with the right thing. And so, and even today, I read an article about the fact that most AI startups are not AI. It's actually AI assisting humans in this black hole of trying to assume it's AI.
Mm-hmm.
And so Google's not the only one to do this, but what you just described in terms of we are training the algorithm because what we click on and I always thought that that's what rankings were. It looked at what came up, how often do people click on it, when they hit the page, do they take further action, what is their average time on site, or do they bounce back right away? I just naturally assumed that that's what SEO was.
Yeah, and that's because you're smart. Perhaps,
okay, thank you.
Perhaps because in the industry, Google has been pushing it against that narrative since its inception, because they don't want people to manipulate, put army of bots on the internet and start clicking stuff virtually and screw up with their signal. So they've been telling us for years, we don't use these metrics without actually lying, but stretching the truth as far as they can. So they've been this last few months, they've been pretty silent on the issue, because I think some of these documents coming out are pretty embarrassing.
Okay. So you go out and you get this job, which because you're like, I'm going to get this job that I thought was a joke, but maybe isn't. And what did you learn? Spoiler alert: you got the job.
Yeah.
But what did you learn?
I was a little arrogant. I thought, because I've been doing SEO for so long, I know the quality rater guidelines, that I would just pass. It'd be like taking a driver's license test. But I failed the first try, and I had to go back and study and documents, and because what they say publicly is not what they say, in the training, and certain things become much more important in the training. So yes, I got the job. I signed an NDA, so there's certain things I can't talk about, but to be honest, they're all boring. So the first thing that surprised me is I had to stop thinking like an SEO. I just had to wipe everything away. Keywords, topical relevance. I just had to start thinking like a user, because I'm evaluating 10 results really fast against a query. And I'm like, this one works, this one doesn't, this one looks kind of spammy.
Hold on. So it would give you it would say I don't know, mountain bike shops, Cleveland. I don't know. It would give you this, and then it would show you kind of what's coming up, and then you just kind of Reddit style plus minus, thumbs up, thumbs down, good or bad, or what do you do?
Well, yeah, it's pretty robust what you have to actually do to each site, and there's an entire scoring matrix. But ultimately, you're ranking how well does it match the query, that's needs met, and what's the quality of the site. Things like how spammy is it? Does it look trustworthy? Would I give this site my credit card? Very human evaluations, and all scored on a matrix and submitted, and you give it a final quality score. But those judgments are happening really quick, and I'm not looking at it like an SEO, like, how do I optimize my URL on the site? No, I'm just like, is this useful to me? And that's what it's come down to. And against these guidelines that are very strict, and that's what Google's looking at, because they can't tell if a site is, their algorithms are smart, but they're not that smart to say, hey, this looks like a site I'll give my credit card to. But the humans are very good at that. And that's what their algorithms are doing.
And so this is what I find so interesting, because obviously I come from a marketing and brand background, sales loop brand. We help B2B companies sell more. And so I have always found that for a certain type of business owner, a certain type of head of sales, not so much marketing, but business owners or sales, they're very data driven. If they're very results driven or financially motivated, that sometimes it can be hard to justify quality photography or layout or brand or design, because they're like, well, it doesn't affect the bottom line. But you're telling me that in some case, either the general population, the users who are out on the internet, who are landing on these pages, they see something, they feel something, they need to understand something. We have to have a connection, and that matters, which in my world falls into brand and design. But you're also saying that the quality scores are wanting to make sure that this just isn't a pile of dog shit, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly. And the funny thing is, Google has been telling us for years, don't chase the algorithm, chase the user, because that's what we're chasing. But now we sort of have more insight that Google is actually just they're using the user as an input for their ranking. So we're starting to see people in my world, in the SEO world, start to do things that we wouldn't have done in the last 5 years.
Like what? Throwing little flags on the top corner to show the countries you're in and make it more trustworthy? Like, what are we talking about?
Yeah, well, so so much of the internet is ad driven, and so a big thing, make sure very long form content. We want to get those ad impressions. If Google will see more content and rank us higher, but oftentimes we're starting to see people now put the answer at the very top of the page, just giving people the answer as quickly as possible. You might see your engagement go down. You might see bounce rate rise, time on site go down, but over time, rankings rise, which is not something we're used to when we see lower engagement. So just giving people what they want as fast. I want to work with a recipe site that puts the recipe at the top of the page.
Oh my goodness. That is so annoying, where it's just like, hey, let me tell you about the history. Yeah. Like, I have this site I always go to for simple, Alfredo sauce. I don't know why I haven't memorized it, because it's only Alfredo. But the fact that it's like, I don't need the history of Alfredo. Yeah. I don't need white sauces versus red sauces. I don't need all of this stuff. Just give me how much butter am I supposed to put in?
Yeah. And I get it. People are generating ad revenue when you spend a lot of time on the page.
Not me. I won't click on any of those ads.
But I want to work with a site that puts the answer at the very top, and maybe their ad revenue will slightly go down, but hopefully their Google impressions and visits will go up. We'll see. Yeah, things like that.
So how is it that, and I don't mean this, this might sound insulting. Sorry if I insult you.
No.
You figured this out and are talking about it. Are other people talking about this? Have other people figured this out too?
Yeah, I think some people in the industry have suspected this or worked on these angles for years, but now it's becoming more mainstream. It's almost like within my world, it's almost like a red state, blue state debate. People get in angry fights about Google's use of user interaction signals, but I think we're getting more acceptance into it, and we'll see what happens if it. Google wants to keep their secrets, and hopefully people don't take advantage of this, but we'll see.
So I know for my own agency in 24, actually, SEO is a key part. It's a key strategy that we are planning on investing in and leveraging. And if you're listening to this and SEO might be a key part of your business, what should we be doing differently? What should we be looking for? What should we be pushing our vendors or our specialists to be focusing on?
So that's an excellent question. And I think part of the answer has less to do with what I just talked about and more to do with the rise of AI assisted content. The cost of producing good content has dropped significantly.
Hold on. No. The cost of producing content has dropped. Yeah. Would you suggest it's good?
It's good by the standards of the last 10 years. It's okay. But going forward, it has to be better than good. It has to be excellent content, because Google can make good content, with their, with Gemini and Bard, ChatGPT can make good content, but that's not going to cut. It used to be you could create a viable strategy with good enough content, but I don't think going forward you still can, but there's no justification for it because anybody else can too. So your position is not defensible.
So are we like? I got a post the other day where it's like, we'll show you how to release 100 pieces of content per day. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness. Is volume the answer? Like right now, that's the game.
That's what some people are doing. They're juicing the system until they crash and burn. But if you're creating a long-term business, I am. I think you invest in things like this, like video, custom imagery, great user experiences, data that can't be found anywhere else. The same things we've been preaching forever, but I think it's more important than ever to do that. You just can't put out a page, an instruction manual that anybody can copy, that AI can copy in seconds and get away with it anymore.
And so if we're to do what we have always known we should be doing, how do we know if we're doing like help me get more specific? Where should we be focusing? What should we be doing? Because video content's great and blog content's great and transcription's great and spinning out content across social's great. And I guess doing all that stuff with backlinks and wheels. And again, I'm not an SEO, so I don't really know what it is that you guys are doing all the time. But I have to imagine if my job is to either maintain our position so that way we can continue to generate inbound leads from search, or and that's really the way I'm thinking it more as opposed to a publishing perspective where you're looking for ad revenue. But if we want to be able to continue to maintain our position to generate leads, or we want to use this shift right now as an opportunity to be able to take out some of the people who are maybe holding those positions, what should we be focusing on? Give me the recipe here.
So that's an excellent question. I do
right at the top of the page.
Yeah. So going back to doing the things we were always supposed to do, I used to run a lot of correlation studies in my past career when I worked with Rand Fishkin. One of the biggest predictors of SEO success is always branded searches. So if people are looking for your brand, they are almost always at the top of search results in every category. So it's hard to always formulate a strategy knowing, hey, make this kind of content, do this kind of thing, but create experiences where people are looking for you is a business moat that is always going to work.
Okay, so branded content is really important.
Branded content.
Branded search results.
Branded search results where people are typing your name into Google or any search engine of the future, whether it's ChatGPT or Bing. That's a moat that is always defensible. And then beyond that, how do you create those great user experiences, giving people what they want quickly without the fluff? I still think volume is working right now, and I think it's going to continue to work into the future, just as long as it's a little better than what can be mass produced in a weekend. So I'm still bullish on SEO. I think some of the easy traffic is going to be gone in the next 2 years, maybe a 30-40% haircut. But what remains, I think you can still build a business on it and use that content in various channels, your social media, your TikTok. I think it's going to work.
I often have these little moments, I wouldn't say that they are little moments of panic, but they're little moments of like the world. I know that the world is changing very, very quickly, that we can recognize that we're living through what will be a very significant change in terms of how we market, how we generate leads, how we sell, how people interact with our content, interact with our businesses. And over the next few years, that's going to change because I've already seen even in myself being so comfortable using GPT. Anyway, being so comfortable with chat. I go back to Google now, and I don't even know how to use Google. Like I ask it questions, it does not know how to answer, and it's frustrating. It's frustrating to me that over the course of 7 months, 8 months now, Google has just like gotten worse because I've changed my habits because I want to have a conversation with chat and get answers to questions I don't know how to ask.
Yeah,
I don't know how to ask the question. I don't know what to look for, but I want to find an answer. And so part of what worries me a little bit is I know that we're on the edge of dramatic change. I know that it will literally like flip the tables and everyone will be kind of set back to zero in this new world. But I'm confident that smart marketers and strategists and people will figure this out. And I just need to kind of stay towards the leading edge of it and just kind of change as things change. So I'm worried, but I'm also not worried. Are you worried at all?
Yeah, it's scary. Things are going to change. You know what I hate about SEO right now, my own profession? We become so formulaic that because we create content, we follow these guidelines, we push it out, and it's supposed to work. But I think back to, remember infographics when infographics were hot?
Remember when voice was hot?
Yeah,
I sat through a whole SEO thing where everyone's like, voice is the answer. Yeah. You need to do this to be able to rank in voice.
But we see an infographic today, we're like, another cheesy infographic. But back when they first started coming out, they were cool. Like, oh my God, I got to share this with my friends. This is a graphic showing all this information. It was a time of invention. And then people realized it worked for SEO and it being spammed. And so now we're I don't know what the next iteration of infographics is, but this is a time of invention for people like you and I, where we can create things that are great for their own reason for existence, not because they serve an SEO search engine, but because they delight people. And I don't know what's going to come out in the next 2 years, but let's invent some shit. Sorry.
It's okay. You can. That's okay. Heresy coming from someone in your world. Yeah. I mean, you're sounding like a creative director at an agency right now.
Yeah, and I'd like to announce the launch of my next venture, Infographics 2.0.
Your whole like this is an amazing opportunity to create stuff just for the sake of creating it. I mean, I've heard that from far too many creative directors in my life, where I'm like, I agree. Now, how are we going to get the client to pay for this? What's the ROI?
Funny, yeah, fair point.
Okay, so we should be bullish on volume. We should focus on user experience.
Yes.
And we should work, which I love, to earn more branded search. And the reason I love this is because at the end of the day, that falls onto brand. I mean, you have to give you have to say things worthy of listening to. You have to have a perspective and a point of view, and you have to create content worth paying attention to and earn the place in your prospect, your user, your viewer's mind in order for them to even want to seek you out and remember who you are. I mean, how many great ads or great companies or great products have you seen where you're like, what was that? What was that thing again? That company, that name? And then like, if you don't know it, you can't find them. And so we should get bullish on volume, but I hear you saying we should get bullish on branding. Is that on brand?
Yeah, I think we have a donut. I live on the West Coast. We have a donut place in Portland called Voodoo Donuts, and everybody
I've heard of. So here's the thing. I've heard of it, which is weird because I'm Canadian.
Yeah, everybody knows Voodoo Donuts, and what a lot of people don't know their backstory. They were theater guys that just wanted to open a donut shop, and they thought, let's combine theater with donuts, and that works because you walk in the store, everything's pink, and it's an experience, and the donut is kind of the last thing on the plate. That's kind of how I think of SEO and my content creation. When you come to my website, it's theater. If you're looking for bike parts or you're looking for insurance, I want to bring you a new experience into that fold so that you have a great experience and you remember me next time you're thinking about bike parts or insurance or whatever. And it's not just about the content on the page. Yeah.
Oh, this is such a great conversation. Oh, my goodness. I've been speaking with Cyrus Shepard, who is the CEO and founder of Zippy SEO. Zippy with a Y, right?
Yeah, that's right. I paid a lot of money for that domain. I don't know if it was my best decision.
So every time you say, you have to spell it out. That's zyppy.com. You can check out his theater and Voodoo Donuts experience, but more related to SEO on his website. Final question I have for you: with everything that you've done and everything that you know, what is your number one tip or strategy to help us sell more?
Oh, to help you sell more. Here, I'm going to dive deep, give you a really weird specific SEO tip. Something I do with all my clients. And that is when I look at your website for just a few seconds, your navigation better tell me you're an authority in your space. I don't want to see any links that say about or learn more. I want to see legal resources or bike part buying guide or something like that. Those links better be good. And when I work with my clients to improve those navigation links, we usually see a good bump in traffic.
I had so much fun. Ah, man, I had fun talking to Cyrus. Okay, let's wrap up this episode with a 3-point roundup. Number 1, SEO practices are constantly evolving. So this is not necessarily something you need to know or learn, but you better have someone who's on the cutting edge, whether that's a vendor, a supplier, someone in-house, or a team. You better have someone who's staying on top of things for you because things are always changing. Number 2, it seems like right now is the perfect time to be leveraging AI for your content creation because it seems that unique and engaging content that is going to offer value beyond AI is really critical. So that's the podcasts and the content marketing and the other things you're doing. But volume is really important right now. And number 3, probably the most interesting thing for me was the fact that what Cyrus learned as a content specialist is just the importance of branding and design and creating things for people. So the fact that there are these quality raters that are coming along to look at things. So what you have in your top menu, what you have in your top banner, what you have in your buckets, or the different conversion paths, the copy you're using, the headlines you're using. The world that I'm in, from a branding and a positioning and a creating sales and marketing assets, this world that my agency revolves in, it is really nice to know that it's also important for SEO. So yay us. Now, those are my 3 takeaways, but I'm curious, what's your key takeaway from this talk? Why not head over to LinkedIn? Find me. My name is Mark Drager. I'm the black and white photo with the blue background. You will find me on LinkedIn. DM me and let me know what your takeaway was from this. And while you're on LinkedIn, be sure to connect with Cyrus Shepard. He is the founder of Zippy SEO. You can learn more about his company at zippy.com. That's ZYPPY.com. You can also check him out on Instagram at Cyrus Shepard. And one last thing, if I got you listening. If you've made it this far into the show, you should be a subscriber. If you're a subscriber already, thank you. Bravo. I love it. But if you're not, you should. Because every single episode, every single week, I share practical strategies and tips, just like what Cyrus shared with us today, to supercharge your business growth and to boost sales. So with that, I am Mark Drager. I will catch you in the next episode.